Hello everyone and welcome. If you remember last week I created a video called React versus Vue, and I did a hello world example to show you how both work and to show you some of the similarities and for you to choose which one you like. In this video, as promised, I'm going to do a series of videos on React versus Vue, on doing certain different solutions. So in this video I'm going to show you how I retrieve data from a list and created a table in Vue and also in React. So this is Vue and this is React. I'm going to start out with Vue first because I've done a lot of Vue videos, so you should be familiar with how Vue works. You should be familiar with how I do a component and how to pass props. So let's go about that, because in both of these I'm going to show you how to pass props using both React and Vue to components. So let's get started. So here's my Vue component. I have this data table here. Not data table. I have this component called Vue-table. Matter of fact, let me go into the JavaScript first, the Vue file first. So I have my instance. I have this data. I have my table. I have this life cycle hook created. So once everything has been mounted, this fires off. I have Axios, which is retrieving my list data from this endpoint. And then it grabs the data from that endpoint and it dumps it into this table, TBL. Now remember that whenever you are referencing anything within this data property, that you have to use this. So this.table, which refers to this instance. So now that I have this component up here. This is my child component. And I have to get this data here. I have to get it into my component somehow. And that's where props comes into play. So I create this component, Vue.component called Vue-table. Now remember that. Let's go to HTML. Here's the component Vue-table. So it's sort of like a tag you use. So now I need to pass TBL from this component, from my parent, into the component. And this is how you do it. You have to bind it to, you have to bind this. This is what you're going to be passing. You have to bind it, because if you don't use the v-bind, what's going to happen is you're not going to be passing the data. You're going to be passing a string. So when you use v-bind, you're binding this to this. So that's what we're doing. So this is how you pass the prop. This is the proper passing in. So now we're gonna pass it into this v-table. Go to the prop. So we're gonna say props colon, and then within the brackets we're gonna put TBL data, which is coming from here. And then we have in our template we have our table. Here's the header. And then we're saying v4 item in TBL data. This is the prop that just passed in, and we're looping through that, and that's how we created our table. That's how we created this here. So I hope that makes sense. Now let's go to React. React is a little bit different. There might be I may have to create other videos on React if you're not familiar. So let's go to React. So in my React HTML, forget about the CSS, we'll talk about that in some other video. I just have this. As you can see, it's not like Vue where you have to create like a component and give it a name. You do, but it's treated differently. So let's go to the JavaScript portion. And this really is JavaScript. That's why that's kind of why I like it. It helps you to improve your JavaScript. So in React, we deal a lot with components, and you're going to see that a lot of different components. So there are two types. You have your functional component, and then you have your class component. And there are times when you use one or the other, or both at the same time. And you use a class when you need to have state. So if you remember in Vue, our state is kept within this data So we can always kind of, and we use V model to remember state. Well, to do state is different here, and I'm going to do it the long way. In some other video, I'll show you how to refactor because of the new version of React. You don't have to use class anymore. I mean, you don't have to use constructor. So you use a class app. Let me come down here first. So if you remember, in my hello world example, you have React DOM.render, and then we have this component app, and this is what we want to render, and this is where we want to render it to. So that's that. So now let's go to where this app is created. If you come up here, so we have class app, which is at the bottom, extends React.component. So this is going to be a component, and in this component we're going to keep state. So whenever you want to have state, you always have to have constructor. You have, you know, props, super props. I mean, this is very, very verbose, super props. And he has this dot state equal to, it's an object, and then you have table data, and then an array. So then you have component did mount. This component did mount is kind of similar to created. So React also have their own lifecycle hook. So this is a lifecycle hook. Component didn't mount, meaning once it's mounted, then trigger this off. So you have Axios that get pointing to this endpoint, same as in Vue, and then you have to set the state. So now you're gonna say this dot set state. You have to say this dot set state. It's not gonna be, you can't do this dot table data. You gotta use set state, and then table data, and then you're passing it the data from that's retrieved from the list. Because it's asynchronous, just like in Vue, you have to do this. So remember that this tripped me up a little bit, because at first I didn't have set state. I just had that table data, and my table was coming up blank. So remember this that set state, and you're setting the state, this state here. This keeps your state for this component. You know, so this is what keeps the state for your component. So once you do that, you have your render. And then I am using the structuring, I think it's the structure to grab table data from my state, and then I'm returning. I say table, and then I have my header, and then I have I'm using map, so I'm mapping table data, and then I have this component right here, table. So this component is created up here. So it's sort of like the component that you saw in Vue, sort of. And then I have props, because I'm going to be passing in props through here. So let's go back down. And the props that I'm passing in, so as I'm looping through and mapping, I am passing in these props. Title, which is grabbing the title, first name, last name, phone, test one from my data. That's coming in from, that I retrieve from here. So I'm looping through table data, and then I'm passing in the props. And as I'm passing in these props, looping through, passing in these props, it's going up here, and it's creating the table row part, one by one, you know, each row at a time. And the way you reference the props is props.id, title, f name, l name, phone. And that's what this is here. Title, F name, L name, phone, age. And it returns it. And once it does that, that's how you get the table that you see. So that's it. I hope that made sense. I'm going to go into some more videos on React, so I can explain the class much more in depth and in more detail. But I hope that made sense. Thanks for watching. Please let me know which one you like. Did you like Vue or React? Bye.